Got it. Okay. I see Ben Zender. John Greb,
Grebe.
Grebe.
Yes, I'm here for the Open Space Committee and the second agenda item.
Okay, John. And then John McLean. And the other individual? John?
John McElwee. I'm there for the A&R.
Okay. Before I get to even announcements of open sessions, members, I'd like to take, rather than have Mr. Zender sit through all of this on an approval not required, because I don't know how long everything else is going to take. Do the members, since there's no public hearing, do the members mind if I take that out of order, move that up first, and then the transfer of conservation and Olga's third? Any members have a problem with that?
Yep.
Well,
No.
that's Ben and two engineers. That's at least $1,000 an hour. So let's move them up.
I resemble that remark.
I thought you'd like that. Is that too low?
Dave, no, I was
keep
just
going.
gonna say, I think that's underestimating the bill, but,
Okay.
You don't have to raise my rate, Dave. We just talked for a long time.
yeah, okay.
Excellent.
All right. Seeing none, then I'm gonna take them out of order. Any announcements, open session or public comment? Olga,
I'm just wondering if there's time on the agenda to talk about the any correspondence.
we'll get to correspondence at the end, if we
At
have
the
it.
end, okay. I didn't see it on the agenda, so I just want to make sure.
Well, correspondence should be there at all times. All right, under announcements, I'm gonna make this short. This is directed basically to planning board members. Planning board members, I apologize that you had to receive a letter directed to you rather than through the planning board from Ed Miller. I have not responded to Mr. Miller, but I felt that I should announce to the board so you're not having what he posted to you in your mind, because quite frankly, I was quite upset about it. And I don't want to, I'm not answering him. I'm not getting into the paper about it, but I feel I owe you, the planning board, some clarity. So I'm going to make this very fast, very quick. Number one, the failure to post our last meeting was a mistake, and the individual notified all members and apologized for the error. These things happen. I felt that that should be the end of the discussion and no further information was necessary to anybody. That was an in-house problem. And it's done, it's over with, it happens. Number two, as far as the chair, I am involved in getting notices ready for posting in the paper. However, it is not then my problem. It is the planning board secretary and duty to notify the proper individuals who placed the notice. My only input is if it has to be posted in a very quick manner, I will notify the secretary to notify the individuals that do the posting that please post it as soon as possible. I talked to Teresa on a phone call, told her that, and recommended that if she wanted the town of Wellfleet to notify or have the Provincetown Independent as the sole paper, that was something I believe she should take up with the new town administrator when he or she comes into office. That was the end of the conversation. 3, when I checked on the signing of the Amsler plan, because quite frankly, my memory isn't all that great. And I thought that I was, since it was in the 1990s, that I wasn't even on the planning board. It turns out that after checking, the signing of the Amsler plan was signed in October of 2001. And it was signed by the chair, Denny O'Connell, David Wright, Helen Miranda Wilson, and myself. Harriet Miller did not come on the planning board until 2005. So there would be no reason for her signature to be on that plan, never mind be forged. It was also mentioned that I have been a board member for 28 years. In researching the Amsler plan, I found that I had underestimated my terms on the planning board. It is now approaching 32 years and it will be 33 in June. So I've been around for a long time, according to Ed, maybe too long. But I wanted the planning board members to know these facts. If the planning board members have and would like to, the information I gave you regarding the Amsler plan is available at the planning board. You can check on it, check your dates, and you can also check the annual town meetings in the executive secretary's office, the annual town report, and you will find when individuals were on the planning board. So I am hopeful that that will be the end of the conversation, but I wanted to bring board members up to date with the correct information. With that,
Jerry, I just want to say thank you for clarifying that and being so straightforward.
okay, thank you, David.
Good. Jerry, thank you for your institutional knowledge and your volunteering for this time. And just be careful, because Jesus Christ was crucified at 33 years old. So be careful about that one.
This may be a hell of a year.
It could be a good one for you.
All right. With that said, I'm going to take the A&R first. Ben, are you doing the presentation? Or is the engineer?
Yeah.
John will start and then I'll jump in if there's any questions, Jerry, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Okay, John.
Okay. We are presenting to the board a plan we believe is an A&R plan. We're taking a subdivision that was created back in 2012 that had 3 lots off of Joseph Way. And the way was constructed, we showed on our plan here, the pavement and the drainage. And now we are presenting to the board a plan that shows 2 lots, lots 1A and lot 2A. They each have adequate frontage in excess of 135 feet on Joseph Way. And area, the lot 1A has 47,000 square feet and lot 2A has 57,000 square feet. And in the commercial 2 zone, 30,000 square feet is the minimum. So basically, we aren't showing any new ways. We're using the existing way for frontage and access. And we believe this plan should be endorsed by the planning board as an approval not required. I don't know if Ben wants to add any more.
Planning board members. Any questions?
Jerry,
Alfred?
did we ever finally sign off on this when it was Hortons? No way.
No, it's still under covenant.
So this road doesn't exist yet. That's a question. My question is,
yeah,
because the original subdivision wasn't finalized, does Josam Way actually exist as a pre-existing road for this?
well,
That's a simple question.
well, it's not really. To, to answer your question directly, though, if the best I can, but I'm sure Ben will jump in. What has happened, that would be the case if the plan was never recorded, because then it would be basically just a lot. The plan was recorded, and no lots have been released. So when the plan got recorded, Josam Way became a legal road in the town of Wellfleet. Now, the twist is it's still under covenant. However, the property was sold in its entirety, which is allowed to a second individual, which is also allowed, but the covenant remained. So when the new individual bought the entire parcel, the covenant stayed in effect. With this A&R, the covenant still is the underlying agreement on the original plan. So yes, Alfred, it is a road recorded at the Registry of Deeds. However, it is under covenant, and no lots, whether there's 3 or 2, can be deeded out until the planning board releases either one of these or all of this covenant that is on record.
Would Jerry, those covenants largely be with the construction of the road, not necessarily the number of lots?
That is correct. The construction
Okay,
to this date is basically been reviewed
completed,
by
right? Yeah.
Billy Rogers, our engineer. And there are some berm questions left, but the drainage is in, the paving is in, the berms are in, catch basins are set. So it is, I would say, about 95% complete. But it is a legal road, Alfred.
Yeah, but it's never been finalized, Jerry. And my question is, in order to do an A&R, we can't create any new roads. We have a road that's almost created completely, but it's not created completely. So we're going to base an A&R on a road that exists but has never been totally signed off on.
But the covenants continue to the next owner, which should be the protection for the town and the second property owner.
I don't disagree, David, but it's never been finalized. So what we're trying to do is we're going to take a subdivision that was kind of a mess, and it's good that it's moving forward. But we're going under the A&R regulation that says you can do it if there's adequate roads. And that road never became adequate because we never signed off on it completely. I realize it's there and it's in good shape. That's not the point. The point is, clerically, doesn't it have to be signed off before we can go further to create an A&R?
Mr. Chairman.
I can answer it, but I'm going to let Ben weigh in at this point. But I do have a question, and maybe I'm going to ask the question, Ben, before you go, because you can address both.
Sure.
I see Alfred's point. I've also got a question. Since there is a 3-lot subdivision that has been filed and is under covenant, and you are changing the plan that is on record with the covenant attached, why are you doing an approval not require A&R plan versus a modification to the subdivision? I would think that this would fall under, to more directly to Alfred's point, a modification of existing subdivision, because everything would stay in place. No questions asked, but it is a modification to a plan that has already been approved.
Yeah. Jerry, if I
Go ahead,
could.
Ben.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, to go back a second, covenant is still of record. The covenant prohibits any building permits being issued or any lot to be built upon until the planning board has released the covenant for any particular lot that's going to be built upon. So the protection is still there to secure the performance of the completion of the road. That doesn't change. This is really no different than somebody coming in before the planning board to combine two lots in an existing subdivision into one lot, for the purposes of, maybe they're not grandfathered properly, or maybe they want to add, they want to build on two lots together. So because you're not creating new building lots, and because you're not increasing the amount of the use of the road, you don't have to come in and have a re-subdivision plan, because subdivision controls safe and adequate access. So in this particular case, where what the owner is doing is going from 3 lots down to 2 and increasing the lot size, they're not increasing the intensity of the use of the subdivision at all. So otherwise, anytime somebody came in to combine 2 lots or in a subdivision plan, you'd make them re-subdivide the whole property. And I don't think the authority is there. Under the statute, if you're not creating new building lots, then it's not a subdivision. So we're reducing the number of building lots.
Would
So-
either mechanism be suitable, Ben, though, a modification?
You could.
Or
Look, you could apply to re-subdivide, but that would mean you have to go through the preliminary process. You have to go through the formal process. It's and then
more cumbersome?
theoretically you would open up the whole that subdivision to further review by the planning board as to whether or not they like the road they approved before or whatever.
Okay.
So we really don't want to go that route, and I don't think we have to. So.
Well, I think the covenant protects what the intent of the planning board was looking for, and if the covenant's still there, it still protects everybody as far as releasing the lots until the roads are completed. So it should be a no-brainer, I would think.
Alfred, would you feel
I disagree
better?
with you, David.
Okay,
I'll tell you why. Because
Why?
we're doing this on an A&R, so we don't have to open everything up, which I think is fine. If the road was there, I wouldn't even approach this. But the road is not there because we never signed off on the road being finished. So Ben's statement is if you combine lots, we'd have to go back for subdivisions. No, you wouldn't, because if you were combining lots and you had frontage, that's one thing. The frontage on this thing was never actually finalized. Yes, it was filed, and yes, there's a covenant on it, but that road was never signed off. So I have a hard I will not vote for this. Doesn't mean that the rest of you can't, but my problem is very clear. An A&R needs to be on a road. We're going to vote on a road that we're all agree is under covenant, but it's never been finalized. So how can you vote on something that hasn't been finished when the law says you need the road? Putting the cart before the horse.
Jerry, if I could. I think the legal distinction here is that there is a road. The road was approved. The plan's been recorded. The only difference is that the covenant hasn't been released for the road. There's nothing in the statute that talks about a road being finalized. It either exists or it doesn't. The road exists. You just can't pull a building permit and build on it until the covenant's been released by the planning board to secure, the road's been built properly. So this is, again, they're changing lines on a plan. They're not building something here yet. So.
I didn't say they were building something, but it doesn't say under an A&R that you can ask for a road that is on a plan but hasn't been finalized. Because if this was an old road, we wouldn't even be discussing this. It's the fact that it was created under subdivision control through the past owner and never was finished.
But if it's only 5% incomplete, that's like saying I couldn't live in a house on a temporary CO, which you can. You might not have the handrails. This is just berms at this point, Does
it say in the A&R that you can live on something temporary?
yeah, we could release it, Alfred. We could release 2 of these lots out of 3.
You're only down to 2 lots, Jerry.
Yeah, I know. I know I would feel better. I can see the point. I know I would feel better if a note was placed on the plan referring back to the covenant of record that's on file. So that would give me peace of mind that anybody picking up this plan, and not that they would, Ben, but if they were picking up this plan, didn't go back and do the title work appropriately, thinking that this is an approval not required, at least there's a proper notification on the plan that this is under covenant, see the covenant first. It kind of continues that first plan in a normal way and gives fair notice to all as well that this is under covenant still.
That makes sense. I mean, we can certainly add a note on the plan that says subject to covenant recorded with book. I've actually got it right here. You know, covenant recorded with book 27444, page 93. We can add that note to the plan if the board wants to vote to endorse, and then don't endorse it until after the Mylar has been resubmitted with that note on the plan. That's fine.
Alfred,
That'd be cleaner.
Alfred, would that make you feel any better?
I think at that point we're putting the mechanism in.
Good, okay.
The other question I have, which is
Yes,
probably not, is nowhere near as, what percentage of lot 2 is in the floodplain?
that goes to John.
Yeah, I can't begin to answer that, Alfred. I'm sorry. You're way over my head.
I would say, just as a guess, there's probably be about 30%.
In our bylaw, what percentage has to be upland versus in the floodplain?
Stand by.
I don't think there's a designation.
Yeah, there is. I'm almost
Yeah, there
positive
is.
there is, John. I think if something's in the floodplain, it's got to be a percentage of.
So my question is, if this is going to get a note on it, maybe at the same time we could present that number.
Yeah, but that's a zoning matter, though, Alfred. That's not a planning matter.
No, I
think
think,
no, it is. It's in the zoning control bylaw, Ben.
yeah, I got to agree with Alfred, Ben, that on any subdivision plan, we would ask for upland, lowland designation on the plan. on the
Okay.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, except
And there's a part of it that has to meet the requirement to make sure. I believe you make it.
yeah, I think we do. I'm just getting back to the definition, Alfred.
But
Alright,
back to
so-
where I said, I believe because we don't have any hard numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the lot area definition excludes land which is swamp, pond, bog, dry bog, marsh, areas of exposed groundwater, which is below mean high tides. So none of the lot would meet that definition, meaning it wouldn't be that. But I wanted to roll to the floodplain definition to see what that says.
We enacted that about 10 years ago, Ben.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that. When what's her name was on the board, it went in. Denny was still there.
Geez, I think it was longer than that, Alfred.
No, Denny was there because the first one that came up was the yellow house down Pammett Point, I think. The yellow and the white house, the two old houses in there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'll get to it if you guys just keep talking.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think with Alfred's question, with the fact we'd like to see the covenant posted on the plan, if you guys will agree to resubmit that information on the Mylar, I think we could probably say, fine, just pull it back and bring in a new plan showing both the lot upland. Give yourself time to check to see, number one, is it even necessary? If there's no wetland under our definitions, then you don't have to put it on. If there is, then just to note it on the plan.
Yeah, Jerry and Alfred, just to get, I found that it says it's under 6.14.2. Lots have to have contiguous lot area outside of the floodplain district of at least 60% of the minimum lot area requirement. So we'll put that calculation on the Mylar.
Okay,
So you have to have 60%?
It's 60%. Yeah, it's 60% outside of the floodplain district. So I'm just checking to see what that floodplain district is.
Well, it's on the map.
It's,
Yeah, but
Floodplain
there's
elevation.
different flood. It's established as an overlay district.
Hey, can I say something?
Yeah.
The whole floodplain over there is sort of,
Roland. I'm sorry,
oh
Roland.
yeah. Hi, how are you?
Good.
The floodplain thing is, I mean, once they put in Route 6, there's no culvert going underneath Route 6. And Route 6 acts like a dam, so there's no wetlands over there, and really the floodplain, you know, it'd have to, I mean, I know John Bologna is working on getting any floodplain area designation taken away from over there because it's not really, you know, applicable anymore once they put in Route 6.
That would be a site-specific map revision, which you're entitled to do. You'd probably get, I would assume.
Yeah, so
'Cause
that's
I totally, yeah.
But you would need that before, if this would happen to be where you have 60%, if you don't meet the numbers, you'd either have to adjust the property line or bring that back.
Yes.
I
But the
think
road's always been, Route 6 has been there since the 50s, so it's been moot for that long.
right.
1946, I think, David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
That's older than Jerry.
Nah,
How much?
not my. All right.
I'm done.
So basically, I think what I'm suggesting, and I'm gonna still, if there's any other members, but based on David Rao, Alfred and myself, I think that if you agree to resubmit the plan with the notes that we've asked for, if necessary, if you find that it's not necessary for the wetland and you research it, then fine, make that argument when you come back with with it, fine, but I think we want to see that on the plan. So if you can
Okay.
get that in. We've got a meeting on the 4th of May. So you're looking at just 2 weeks.
Yep,
So if you
we'll get it in.
if you get that in, we'll spin it right back out again for you.
Yeah, we'll get it in.
Okay?
Jerry?
Thank you.
Yes, Alfred.
Jerry, I wasn't looking for the wetlands. I don't want him to go that far. All I was looking for was the floodplain. There's a difference.
Yeah,
I know what you're getting at, Alfred.
yes.
Okay, I don't
if you
want
gotta-
any of that stuff. I believe that it's dry there. That's not the point, Ben. I'd
Yeah, I
prefer
know.
to stay away from that. Just the floodplain mechanism.
Yeah,
Right.
you want a calculation of the land outside the floodplain.
And if you
Yeah, that's all.
that gives you the ability, I mean, if you're off by 2,000 or 1,000 square feet, it gives you the ability to move that other lot line temporarily until you get the, you know, I agree with David Rao that probably in time, depending on how fast they can act, they can probably get that stuff just wiped out of that plan completely and get the whole
Yeah, you can get a
lot.
map revision.
Yeah, I think that'll
It's a
do.
process, but
that'll-
it's very doable.
Yeah. I agree.
What is
So,
the elevation?
Just so you know,
What
we
is the
might
elevation
adjust,
of
we
Route
might,
6?
I'm sorry, David. Just so you know, we might adjust that lot line to make those numbers work.
Right, and that's fine. So if you can bring it back in on May 4th, we'll get to it and take care of it.
Sounds good.
Members, any other members have any questions? I didn't mean to leave any other members out of the conversation.
So just to clarify, the land is completely undeveloped at
That
this
is
point.
correct, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the covenant is still on record, Bonnie, so nothing can be built, whether it's 3 lots or 2 lots. Until they,
Lift the covenant, which means completing the road, the berms, and all the prior decisions.
well,
of
it's
the planning
really
board.
down to a point of, at this point, negotiating with the planning board and Billy Rogers. The berms are in, the catch basins are in, the bounds are in. What happened was the original owner let the 2-foot berm on both sides of the road, the flat berm, which is which is not paved, but we require a 2-foot berm, flat berm. That has been grown in with,
Stuff.
I would say some kind of grasses, not beach grass, but some other grasses. So Ben, in doing this, that's the only thing left from my conversation with Billy Rogers. So you really might want to look at this and say, hey, listen, if you want to make a change or come back in and say, listen, do we really need it? Do we need it on one side or both sides? Take a look at it, because I think the planning board, I know myself, would love to see this thing over and done with as soon as possible. It's been hanging around an awful long time, and that is the only thing left, literally, just that 2-foot berm area.
Yeah, I think that would be a conversation between John and Billy before it gets to you. Would that be the right way to do it, Jerry?
That's exactly the way it would be, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll look at that. Okay.
And if the two of them need to reach an agreement through the board, then it would just kick it back to us and we would make the final decision, because Billy will do what we instruct him to do.
Understood.
All right?
Okay, thank you. So continue us to May 4th?
Yes,
Okay,
we'll get you on the agenda the 4th. All right?
thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
very much.
And everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
Transfer of the 2 lots to conservation. This has been hanging around for 2 years. This is on record, so I don't want to say it's. The I's weren't dotted and the T's weren't crossed in a timely manner, and consequently, this should have happened a long time ago. It really is pretty simple. Does anybody any members have any problem? And I don't mean to shortchange anybody here, but this should be pretty darn clear. It's a transfer to conservation, so it's not being sold or anything else. Any planning board members got any question on this? This got kicked back to us at the last, if anybody remembers, we kicked back to the planning board last year when it was on the town warrant at the town meeting, and Denny O'Connell spoke to it and said that it appears that it was never brought to the planning board, and it wasn't. So consequently got kicked back to us. So I personally don't see any problems with it. I don't know if anybody else does, and that's why I'm kind of opening up to members, because if they don't have any problems, we'll just take a vote and get it done with.
I gather there's no opposition, there's no letters we haven't seen, there's nobody objecting to this?
When it went
No.
back, the process, Bonnie, is that the request goes to the Board of Selectmen. It seems simple enough, but it just got messed up. The request to transfer the land to conservation was submitted to the select board. They in turn send it out to all relevant boards and committees within the town of Wellfleet. Those boards and committees have 30 days to act, to send in a letter saying we recommend, don't recommend, or here are our concerns. Those letters go back to the Board of Selectmen. Once the 30 days is up, the Board of Selectmen should, in a timely manner, send it over to the planning board with any of those letters with their input. In this case, it took quite a while, but we finally got everybody notified, confirmed the fact that all boards and committees had it for 30 days, got it back to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen got it back to us through the channels. There was no input from anyone.
Meaning silence is consent?
So, I couldn't put any better myself.
Can
Silent
I
as
add
consent.
2 cents?
Yeah, 1 second. So basically, the consent is not saying they agree or disagree. It's simply, we have no problems. So that's why we have no correspondence that I know of, except for maybe the Conservation Committee saying we want it. But there was no objections whatsoever to this transfer of any kind. Yes,
My 2 cents
yes, John.
are basically, it went to Conscom, it came to us at OSC and the NRAB. And everybody thought it was a great idea and everybody's supporting it. So I think your instincts are right.
Thank you. So we're all on the same wavelength as that. We'd like to get it back on the town agenda and town warrant and take care of it. Any questions?
Jerry,
Alfred,
I'm gonna make it easy. I move that the planning board supports the transfer of map 30, lot 186, and map 42, lot 137 to conservation.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Bonnie seconds. Any discussion from planning board members? Seeing none. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Unanimous? No one abstained, right? David Rowell?
I'm not abstaining. No, I
Okay.
said aye.
I didn't, it wasn't in your normal voice. I missed it, David. Okay, that's unanimous, Karen. John, I hope that kind of ties that up for you.
It does.
Sorry,
Thank
it
you
took-
all very much.
Sorry it took so long. It's just,
Okay.
but we finally got it for you. So you're all set.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, we'll go to report of 95 Lawrence Road. Olga?
Okay. I don't know where people are at with how much information they have about the project, so I can do a summary. And I want to first say that as liaison to the 95 Lawrence Road Task Force, my work is over. The task force does not exist anymore. What we did, our final task was to make a recommendation for which developer, and that was done. And a POA CDP combined developer response to the proposal was accepted and recommended 7-1 by the task force members. The task force had nothing to do with a water treatment plant. So that's in the beginning stages, and I can't report on where that is at this point. There were to be no more than 46 units of affordable apartments. The range of incomes for affordability went up to 120% of average mean income, but the proposal is going to keep it from below 80%, some 30% AMI, some 60, some 80. Basically, there are two kinds of units. But there's the lower village and the upper village. And the upper village is going to be 2- and 3-bedroom townhouses. And the lower village, 1- and 2-bedroom flats in a 3-story building, which of course will involve zoning zoning violations, but because they're going for a 40B comprehensive permit, some zoning can be overlooked, and it doesn't have to meet all zoning bylaws. I think people know where it is, 6 acres of a 9.6 acre parcel. There is to be a water treatment plant that's shared with the town. and the developer will pay 44% of the cost of that water treatment plant. Let's see. The CDP, which is acting as kind of the local group because they're local. POA is a national, it's a national development company. The CDP mailed letters to all abutters as part of outreach, and leaders of the town, I think you all got a timeline. Subsequently, I sent a more updated one, which I believe is on the town website. And I didn't get it in time for the first packet, but it was there. And if you want to see it, there are obviously some, well, not obviously, but it has fallen behind a little bit, as these things tend to do. Leaders of the town regulatory boards were invited to meet with the development team in January, but apparently these meetings never took place because there was no interest. I don't know that whether we got an invitation or it was just seen by Jerry, but as far as I know, there was no meeting of town regulatory boards. Recently, the development company made a project eligibility application, which they submit to DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. And that's to get permission to apply for a comprehensive permit. That would be the Chapter 40B, which seeks relief from town zoning. The letter
Does not
until-
guarantee it.
No, until DHCD issues a project eligibility letter, which they have applied for, the comprehensive 40B cannot be submitted. And the target date is this June for getting that letter, but it's hard to predict when it will happen. Training in 40B is available and was offered by the development company, but again, no one has taken the initiative to organize it. And it's something I would be interested in learning about 40B and what the rules are about it. So if anyone has, hears about it, I would like to get involved in that. Let's see, January 2023, the application for funding from DHCD would be presented and be applied for. And April to May, these are the new timeline, between April and May of 2023, there would be a determination and the funding secured by August 2023, tentatively. And so if that happens, construction would begin December 2023. And a year later, December 2024, lease up would begin with lottery and local preference. And local preference is, a lot of that is dependent on the kind of funding we get, but it would be no more than 70% local preference. And some of that applies to not just people living in Wellfleet, but people whose children are in Wellfleet schools or who work here. And they're looking at March 2025 for project completion. David Rowell had asked me about costs per unit and per square foot. The total cost per unit is about $438,000. Square foot costs $321 per square foot, including site work, wastewater, infrastructure, and a 5% contingency. And the developer fee will comply with DHCD guidelines. And overall, it's a $20.2 million project. And just today, I received a frequently asked questions booklet that CDP produced. And I believe it will be on the web shortly. But Elaine McElroy forwarded it to me. And if you have questions, I can probably get the answers off of the FAQ document. I think that's about all I want to say. I'll answer any questions.
Well,
Here's
thank
this-
you for getting that figure, Olga, the
here's
320
this
figure.
document, well, actually coming out mirror image, I think. But anyway,
Yeah.
yes, David.
Yeah, no, that 320 figure alleviates some of my concerns. That's unfortunately high, but that's what it costs
That's
to
what
build
it is.
here. I mean, it's, I don't know what the county average is, but certainly down this end of the Cape, anything in the threes, you're lucky to get. So at least from that perspective, it sounds good. I'm sure there's other things to look at, but that's on a positive note. That's certainly within the ballpark, I would think, you know,
Mhm.
if you can nail it down. I'm a little nervous with the zoning stuff because the 40B does offer eligibility, but if the board decides, no, we do not want 3 stories there, then the cost for the units go up and we get a reduction in units too. So that's certainly a variable that is yet to be seen because the board still has the ability to deny that.
That's right. The
The
zoning board of
40B just gives it.
appeals.
Correct. You are entitled to ask for relief and they can grant it under a 40B, but that does not by means any way guarantee that you will get it. That's a discretionary thing that the board will, I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit about. So that's still a wild card, but I'm sure there's
Okay,
still
here-
quite a few out there still.
In the FAQ, here's their response to, will this be the only 3-story building in Wellfleet? The 3-story building in the lower village fits in with several 3 and 4-story private homes on Long Pond Road. Other examples of 3-story buildings in town include the elementary school, which is across the street from the site, the Wellfleet Historical Society building, and the police station. So that's their answer.
Well, the police station's not because by zoning definition, half of it's underground, so they're actually only 2 stories. So that was that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's kind of unfortunate because with this project and with the fire station and with a lot of municipal building projects, there should be a mechanism other than 40B that would allow the town to violate certain parameters. They have such things in Provincetown and other towns where you can get, oh, it's a municipal project, you can go to the lot line, or you can go higher. In case of the 40, this one, 3 stories, I would assume that's to get an elevator in there. That would make sense,
They
you know?
do. Yeah.
And that is something that the board could even work on simultaneously as this project seeks a 40B permit. And that's something that I think we may want in the future anyhow, for your municipal projects to be exempt from certain zoning requirements to make development easier. I mean, that was the trouble that got us in the fire station. They couldn't cite it back far enough, or they would be held to zoning. If there was some relief, and they certainly weren't going to get a 40B, it was a municipal project. So
Right.
that's a whole nother matter, but sorry to
So-
digress.
You're saying that the planning board should work on some changes to the zoning bylaw now.
Yeah,
while
they
we-
could.
Yeah,
Yeah, a definition that says, look, we can make exemptions for certain municipal projects, and this would be a criteria. Say, okay, you're allowed to go higher, or you're allowed to go closer to the lot line, because that is sort of a common project.
Mhm.
Fire stations would be anything to do with a medical center or whatever they call themselves these days. Projects like that could have that variable built in. So at least in the design phase, they might make better use of the lot. my point.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna build, let's make the best use of the lot. So, those are just thoughts. I mean, something to think about. Because I think this does exist in other towns where municipal projects are allowed to violate setbacks and height restrictions and density requirements. You know, because it's viewed as, okay, it's for the public good.
David, with your help, I would be happy to look into that and present to the board some, possible.
But you're asking me to be helpful, Olga. That's difficult, but okay, we could do that.
I'll twist your arm.
Okay.
You're not gonna
Good.
get that kind of-
I'll pick
you're
your
not gonna get
brain.
that-
That's what I want to do.
you're not
That's
gonna
what you
get-
want to do.
Yes.
You're not gonna get that relief in the time that you need to get it for this project to move forward.
Probably not, Jerry. Probably not. Yeah.
Definitely not. So
Mm.
Yep.
in most of the towns that have a municipal use by right, fire and police stations and things of that nature, not housing. That falls under 40B.
Jerry?
So, yeah, Alfred,
I mean, we're looking at taking other properties for this stuff. I mean, there's a discussion about taking another piece of property. So I'm not so sure that David is
Yeah.
far off the mark for the future.
You're talking about
I-
Well-
Maurice's campground?
I have no idea where we're going. I'm just saying that if we're going to do these things, we need to stop relying on 40B and maybe come up with a better, more town user-friendly program.
Mhm.
well, we did that in a way, Alfred, with the new cluster. So they could have taken the new cluster bylaw and done this project if they needed to get closer to lot lines or things of that nature. So the cluster would have helped. But you also have a situation where how much of the environment do you want to change of Wellfleet for projects of this nature? I think we took a major step. I think we took a major step with the cluster and affordability.
I don't disagree, Jerry, but the thing is, if there's a mechanism in the town, we may be able to do it more on a town level instead of allowing the thought that 40B is just going to take care of everything.
Mhm.
Well, the 40B, the 40B, number one, is not new to Wellfleet. The Board of Appeals knows how to handle the 40B project. They've done it before. So it's not new to them. The 40B is an expeditious way of getting through zoning. There is only one board that a 40B applies to, and that's the Board of Appeals. They don't have to go to Conservation, Planning Board, or anything else. Now, with that said, those other boards can weigh in, but it goes through the Board of Appeals. I'm not sure, Olga, whether or not, I think I did see that notice about the January meeting. But I purposely did not reply to that or go to it because I did not want a conflict. This project under 40B will come to the planning board.
Okay.
All right, this will, before they even have a hearing, what they will do is they will open the meeting, they will advertise the 40B project. They will open the meeting and immediately continue it. And then it will come to the planning board. So they can't even get input from anything, anyone. All they do is open and close, just like anything else. 10 significant impact. So that will come to us automatically as the first input. So that's the procedure. So I didn't want to weigh in
Mhm.
at any other time, because that's when we'll see it, and the entire board will review it and give our recommendations to the Board of Appeals. And with all due respect to the Board of Appeals, they can listen, or they can say thank you very much and go on their merry way. But they do have to refer it to us. So we will see it as planning board members. It will have the first
Eventually.
eyes on it. Yeah, I would imagine once that's filed, we will see it immediately thereafter. And generally, a project of that size, they make a full presentation to us as well. So we'll get
All right.
to
That has to be, by the way, that has to be a live meeting. No more of this crap for that. No Zoom meeting for that crap. None.
it's all up to the, quite honestly, David, it's all up to the Board of Selectmen, not up to us whatsoever.
I beg to
I'm hopeful,
differ.
I'm hopeful we can, but that's their call.
No, this ostrich stuff has to stop.
It stops at the top, not at us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open this to a couple,
Competent.
I'm gonna open this up, but I just got a couple questions. The vote on the final company that got this, what was the vote? Was it unanimous? Was it split?
The task force voted 7-1 in favor of POA.
7-1?
CCP.
Oh, okay.
More than any, other.
Besides the height on the buildings, was there any other zoning relief that they were looking for? Do you know? I know we will see it. but
Yeah,
I'm
I can't
wondering.
think of it now. No.
Okay. Is a developer seeking any tax abatements as part of their presentation and package?
Would that be part of the land use agreement, or
Yes,
Does-
probably would be.
it's still being worked on? So I don't know what's being requested. I do know that the developer will ask for CPA funds. But
Yeah, but that's to the best of my
One.
knowledge, that's a one-time or two-time or three-time
Right.
well, where a tax abatement usually will go for 5 years, 10
Perpetuity.
years, 15 or
Yeah.
20 years.
I think it's being discussed, so I don't know where that's at. I can try to find out.
Okay. Is this all rental? Or is some of this being, it's all rental?
Mhm.
And so when the developer, POA, does the project, how long do they own it?
Well, I guess it's a 99-year lease,
Okay,
so I
they're
assume.
responsible for it for 99 years,
Yes,
at which point it turns back to the town of Wellfleet.
that I don't know. I won't be here. I don't know.
Where are you going?
Underground.
Yeah, but whether you're here or I'm here, it's something that the town of
I
Wellfleet
know.
should know and clear.
All right, I will ask.
I've got something else, but I'll leave that to the end. Anybody else? Planning board members? No.
Not at the
Bonnie,
moment.
Bonnie, I can see the look on your face. You're saying, well.
Yeah,
what
I
are
mean,
the next
I
questions?
don't know. I think you're just bringing us up to date, and I've been following it pretty closely. And I mean, I do know that the POA and CDP have, a lot of that are going for state and federal money, for affordable housing. So, and I just think it's, I mean, it was one of those projects where it was, yes, in my backyard instead of no in my backyard. The abutters are very in favor of this project. And so it's just been refreshing. Yeah.
Good.
And then I
Dave?
also have to say that the design to make them like very extremely energy efficient Olga, the standard that it's a passive
Passive
certification.
house, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an extremely energy efficient development, which is great for the environment, but it's also great for the tenants because their heating and electricity costs will be much lower.
Well, for many of them, it's based on their income. So it's just, it works better if you can save money. It's not clear.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to charge one thing related to their income, most likely. I have to say, everything about the project is fluid, even the design. I mean, the project, the designers, the project managers know that they will have to shift things around if there's concern. So just
Are
because
those
they
plans
submitted-
available, Olga?
their original plan with their proposal is what they're going by for starters, but they say, it's not necessarily the
Written
final.
in stone. But
Right.
is it available to look at?
Yes, what I can do is send you some links. It is on the town website, but it's hard to find. You can see all the developers' proposals. And the one from POA is 245 pages, something like that. So I, this morning, printed their site plan, their site development plan, or site design, I should say. And I can get these to you and maybe give you like, this is the page you have to go to or whatever.
All right. Well, we can talk about that later. Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
David Mead Fox, anything?
No, I've been following it as well. We'll have more to say about it later. I am happy about the energy efficiency stuff. I know not everybody agrees with that, maybe on this board, but I actually gave them a push in that direction a couple of years ago. I did a presentation to the group that was working at it, encouraging them to go in this direction. So I'm happy to see that they did.
Okay.
And they're not going to allow Giants fans to live there.
Now there's a special exception for that written in, Jim.
No.
Alfred, anything? Silence.
Wow, quiet, huh?
All right.
Yeah, Alfred, anything? Okay,
No, I'm all set. I think that
All right.
I think that it is what it is, and move forward and see how it comes out.
okay. We will see this as 40B. If I'm correct, the planning board was asked for a reason, to have a liaison from the planning board on the task force overlooking the project of this size. That's why Olga was appointed. I'm going to say I'm at fault here. Too much going on and just not paying enough attention on a couple of things. And I'm not throwing you under the bus here, Olga. But I'm gonna put it in a generality point of view. That when the planning board is asked to have a liaison, and this is to all members for the future, the way I understand it is the liaison is the arm of the planning board. And the planning board should be kept informed of what's happening. Site plans, egress, road layout. That's what we do best, better than anybody else in town of Wellfleet. In this case, because I dropped the ball and didn't ask Olga for reports, ongoing reports, I don't think Olga realized that was needed or should have been done. So I take the blame for that. But I think in the future, not think, I'm sorry, I know in the future that the chair should stay on top of these things, and that when we have a project of this nature, or we are asked to have a liaison to some committee for a reason of this nature, that regular standing reports should be made to the planning board as to what's going on. So we know that if egresses need to be looked at, if height should be really seriously looked at, even though we have 3-story buildings that were built 150 years ago, there was no zoning. The fire department has been one of the strongest advocates against no more than 2 stories because they haven't had the ability to put out fires when we don't have town water. In this case, we will have town water there, so, but
That can change the second part of the equation.
yeah. But I think in the future, the planning board should be kept better informed. The liaison is not a lone wolf. They're simply there to report back to the planning board. So I should have had this on the agenda, so at any given point at every meeting, the liaison could have swayed in and said, hey, this is where we are, not have to make a special appointment and get on the agenda. So I take the burden on myself for that. And I want to just let all members know that in the future, if you take on a liaison position, that's what you need to expect. I know it's a lot of extra work, but the planning board needs to be, your fellow members need to be kept informed. So if we have ideas and input, we can help the town before it ever gets to the 40B and it kind of hits the fan, and maybe we could have solved a few problems that arose that the Board of Appeals didn't have to worry about. So that's a critique. It's not calling you on the carpet, Olga. It's more or less me admitting that I didn't do as well as I should have as a chair. Yes.
Well, I just want to say that when I joined the RFP, the request for proposals had already been prepared. So there was a site plan that was sort of a guideline. I had nothing to do with it at that point. It was the previous liaison who, I don't know whether he brought reports, but that would be one place to have input. Then I could have shown you what the 3 proposals looked like. But as it was, the people, I guess there are comments that could have come from the planning board that I could relate to the task force, but I think I did a pretty good job of, from my knowledge, saying what I thought was working and what wasn't working on the different proposals.
I'm sure you did. It's just a matter of
Communicating.
There's 6 other members that would have or should have. We should have been kept abreast of it and taken your input and said, okay, fine. So it's just something in the future, because I think we will probably see something of this nature again, the way things are going.
Yeah.
But
a question: Are
it's a
there
learning process for all of us.
somebody said that I was the liaison to the Affordable Housing Trust. I said, I don't think so. Are there other liaison positions then that should be reporting back to the planning board, or is this the only one?
Alfred, are you still on the Housing Authority liaison position?
Yeah, but I've
Mhm.
missed a bunch of the meetings.
Okay. There are a couple, Olga, to answer your question. None of them, to my knowledge, are anywhere near the size and scope of this particular project. It's more of a lending ear. And again, as Alfred said, I mean, we're all going in a lot of different directions, and we can only do what we can do. So it's just a point that more information for all of us, the better, that's all. But it will come back, as I say, it will come back. Anything you've got, Olga, that you feel that before it hits the 40B application, if there's anything that comes in, just simply let me know, but I'm going to ask Karen publicly right now, but I'm going to ask her again to make sure that it's on the agenda at every meeting for reports from any liaison members. So I don't have to schedule it. It's there, and you can,
Mhm.
and that member can chime in at the end of a meeting and keep us posted. I think that's the way it needs to be done, and
Yeah,
that-
even if there's nothing to report, Jerry, it provides the opportunity, you
exactly.
know?
Let's get it out
Yeah,
there.
and just say there's not.
Yeah.
yeah,
Open
simple as
meeting
that.
law says that we've got to post it, so let's touch the base and do that. Anything else?
Mhm.
No. Bonnie, you're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is actually, I think, the ideal time for the planning board to be more involved, because that there was a site plan that was approved, but many of the details that are generally the details that this board gets into are still are going to be worked out in these next months. And so I don't think it's I think it's a perfect time for.
I think you're right. The only thing I've got to really think it through, and I may have to check with the assistant TA through town council, is how much involvement when we're this close to the 40B application going to the Board of Appeals. It's one thing when it first starts and you've got 6 months, 8 months, a year down the line, and you're giving input. But when you get closer to the filing of that 40B, because it's coming to us for that very reason, I just have to be sure that we're cautious of the fact of what we can and can't do, Bonnie, because we will see it. Now, again, we are not the permit granting authority. All we will be in this case is, for example, we could weigh in on the height. We could weigh in on egresses. We could weigh in traffic pattern. We could weigh in on a number of things. But I don't know how, the closer we get, I think the further we have to be away from the project. But I think I'm going to have to get the town assistant TA and get a little more clarity on it. This is probably one of the largest projects the Board of Appeals on a 40B has seen.
Well,
Everything else has been much
it's
smaller.
almost equal to the town budget, Jerry. It's pretty close, so, yeah.
That 22 million scared the hell out of me.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, what's the town budget? Is it 30, somewhere around there?
I've
And
stayed the hell
going-
out of that one, David. I'm letting those people.
Oh, well, we don't know. We don't count the cash anyhow. They don't
No.
know. They just keep spending it, so they don't really
Okay.
know. It's fluid.
I just
I'll
want to
go-
say that I'm no longer, the task force doesn't exist anymore. So I'm not a liaison, although, I'm listening and trying to find out what's happening and I can report on that, but there is no
So why did they-
liaison
So
role.
curiously, why did they, if this has not gone to an application to a 40B to Board of Appeals yet,
Mhm.
and where there's still, if I caught what you said, there's still kind of tweaking the site plan and tweaking a couple other things before they file the 40B. Why would they have disbanded the task force? Simply because you've picked the developer?
We picked the developer. I think that was our charge. Also, they're waiting for this letter of eligibility. I can't remember the term for it. Before they can even apply for 40B.
Yes.
So
I'm aware of those. Yep.
there's no reason to be, fussing with the plan until they have approval to go ahead. So they're just waiting for the eligibility letter.
All right. Well, I'm not involved in it, but I would have thought that until that letter came in, that it was sort of still open and I would have
Hmm.
kept the task force in place. Couldn't have hurt. But anyway, that's their business, not ours. Our business will be when the 40B gets kicked over to the planning board. Definitely.
Right.
All right, May 4th is the next meeting. We will have that A&R plan before us. We will also have the ADU amendments to last year's zoning bylaw that the Board of Selectmen have forwarded to us.
That was in the packet today, right? For today, right?
Yeah. It was in there, Bonnie.
Wasn't on the agenda, though, I don't
It's
think.
not, no, it's not on the agenda because the advertising, we kicked it out to you so you could have it, but the advertising had to take place and the 14 days from the day of the first ends up just before that May 4th, so we couldn't put it on this agenda, but it will be on that agenda.
So
I
it's a
think if you look at
hearing.
it, It's a hearing. It's a hearing
Yeah.
on the selectmen's petition amendments to the ADU.
Mhm.
So that is,
Where's
on the-
the- Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry.
go ahead, Bonnie. We can't discuss it, but I can tell you that's because we're making up the agenda now. That's going to be on your agenda for May 4th.
And is is all the information that we got on the food truck bylaws, is that also on the agenda for next time?
No, I didn't and have not put. That was a letter that Victor Staley came, that was a problem that Victor Staley was presented for a food truck. Victor, as thorough as Victor is, had a particular problem and needed some clarification. I gave him the clarification, but he had made a decision. The decision was consistent with what I was thinking. So that was more of an informative letter to the planning board because there was no real changes necessary. He was just basically asking, were food trucks, it appeared to him under the zoning, food trucks were not allowed in that area. I confirmed that was the case. So he was okay with it. He just wanted to make sure that he was reading it correctly on where food trucks could be by special permit. That's why I forwarded it to you.
So what I read, I mean, was a little confusing, but it seemed there was part of it where they were saying that the bylaws actually contradicted each other. Like in in one place it said it was permitted, and another place it said it wasn't. So is that true?
Not
It's
to
the
my knowledge.
regulation. It wasn't within the zoning, but zoning and whether it's health regulations.
Yeah, you're right. He was confusing Board of Health. Be careful. Zoning is pretty crystal clear. The state Mass General Law regarding food trucks is pretty clear. Board of Health and Wellfleet has looked at it and made decisions that don't appear to Victor, I think, to your point, that were consistent in nature. And that's what he was having a problem with. And all I was not addressing or getting into Board of Health. It's not. All I was doing,
Chicken.
answering the question, is it or is it not allowed in that district? And that was fairly simple. It's sort of, and I said Victor is thorough, I mean Victor is thorough. It's sort of like most building inspectors would not even have picked up the multiple uses of ADU, accessory dwelling units in the multiples, which was the intent, and Victor picked it up that it was only supposed to be singular. Well, everybody knew it was, even though we didn't agree to it, we didn't like it, we wanted something different. That's the law. So I stepped in with Victor and said, Victor, planning board was against it, but the planning board and I stood on, as a representative, stood up at town meeting and said, and it got passed, almost unanimously, no, it was always intended to be multi-units, numbers of multi-units. He didn't kind of like that, but understood clearly when I sent him the memo that I read in town meeting floor, that it was the intent all along, not only by the drafters, but by the planning board when we discussed it, it was multiple units with no set number. He felt it really needed to be cleaned up, and that's why it went to the Board of Selectmen and then has to come to us. We still have an issue that we have to look at with this, and hopefully I'm going to have an answer on the hearing on May 4th for the planning board, but we've got a
Don't need to
slight-
discuss it further, Jerry. You're walking a fine line.
I'm not going to find line. So it's on the agenda for May 4th anyway. And the other, to answer your question, Bonnie, directly, is it's information. If you find something in there that needs clarification, then give Karen a call. She'll ask me, and if it needs to be on the agenda, we'll talk about it. But I don't think it needed to be at this point. That's what I read, okay? David, you're not going to be at the next meeting, right?
Yes, that's correct. I'll be literally on an airplane and not an airplane where I can call in.
Okay.
I won't be able to be at the May 4th meeting either. I'll be in Puerto Rico.
Can you remotely join us? No?
Well, I'm not bringing my computer, so I guess I will have my cell phone. I don't know.
Okay.
Welcome to my
I
world,
can't-
Bonnie.
And I won't be able to look at attachments in a packet, so I just think I should not attend.
All right, I'm gonna check with Beth. I think we'll have 5. I will know much better. I've got to open it and either continue it.
Hmm.
We're still toying whether or not it's gonna get on the warrant or not. So I'll address that, but I totally understand and thank you for letting me know. I knew David had already touched bases with me that he would not be there. Bonnie, thanks for letting me know. That gives me a heads up for that meeting, but it's been advertised, so I'll either have to open it and continue it, which is not a major problem if it happens, or I will have other information for the board members. And if I do, that certainly will go out to you by email.
But actually, I have the hard copies of what we're going to be voting on, right? In this week's packet. So I can just bring them with me to Puerto Rico and call in if you really need me for the quorum.
Okay, you'll have your phone?
Yeah, I'll have my cell
Okay,
phone.
I'll tell you what, I'll have Karen, because Karen's now have your number. And I got your number as well. Since you won't have your computer, email is out. I'll have Karen text you if it's necessary for you to sit in. How's that?
And I'll just make sure to bring it's the main agenda item is the ADU bylaw. That's what the public hearing is on, right?
It's
Amendment.
it's the ADU bylaw that was passed last year. Yes,
Right, the edits, yes.
The amendment.
Yes.
amendment.
Yeah.
There you go. It's
Yeah.
the amendment. Okay.
And
Yeah.
there are internet cafes.
No,
you
no,
know,
no, no, I'll have internet. I just
think
am
you-
not bringing my computer on
But you
vacation.
you will get all the digital copies in an email if you,
No, I just can't read attachments on my phone. It's like, it doesn't
no, I
work.
mean, in a cafe, I mean, or wherever they have internet and computers. You could go.
I'm not overly worried about it. I don't
Yeah,
think it's a major
okay.
problem. I think
No,
we
If
can
if
handle
if
it.
you need me for a quorum, I'll do it. I'll just make sure I have the paper copies with me.
We'll let you know.
Okay,
All right. Anything else? If not, thank you very much.
What about our meeting notes,
Oh, yeah.
meeting minutes?
yes, our minutes. We gotta approve them.
Yeah, Karen, I'll have my head. Yes. All right, the minutes of February 16th, amended March 2nd. Any changes or amendments?
I would like to see, as was done previously, the list of documents at the end of the meeting minutes. That's a requirement of the open meeting law. That would be like the letter from in February, the letter from Ryan Curley, a letter from Patricia Lemmy. I don't know what else. And in those minutes is Alfred's motion to hear back from town council. And I'm wondering what may have come through from town council on, I guess, the cottage colonies and the affordable lots.
It has, yeah, I'm not sure we're even going to have to hear it at this point, because I think those things have been postponed.
It's not going to be at the town, put forward to town meeting?
At this point, I don't think so.
But if we don't have a hearing, is that making it so that,
No, they're adjusting the agenda because the town warrant was over
a-
66 warrant articles and they can't do it. And they know they won't get quorums. So they've cut certain things, and based on the information that came back from town council, it didn't make sense. So I'm almost absolutely positive that will not be on the warrant, and it's going to change substantially.
okay.
So basically, so you mean the town council got back to the select board saying what the problems were with the bylaw that they proposed?
And it's sitting in our file. We didn't disperse it because I was waiting for the selectmen to make changes. They didn't make changes. Threw it back on us. And then all of a sudden, the warrant issue came up and said, wait a minute, we can't get through this. So it looks like the only thing we're going to have on the agenda is the contractor's yard. And I'm not even sure, and that's why I'm still in the air with the ADU changes. So it's
Well,
sitting
we-
there in limbo.
But we will hear what town council said at some point.
I'm not sure, we will hear when it's necessary. I'm talking to I can't go any further at this point because I'm already over the line.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda. It's
Right.
not something at this point that is in front of the board. It's not something at this point we're gonna have a hearing on. It's back in the select board's table.
Understood.
Um,
One other thing for those meeting notes was,
Yes.
I think I said it last time when we sent it back for some sort of change, that in the hybrid meetings and the distribution of materials, I would like put in the minutes that I requested and have requested often that our materials be presented in PDFs and put on with our agenda for all to see.
This is
So
not really on, this is not on our agenda, though.
Not, yeah.
I am replying to the meeting minutes where I had made that request. It's not in the meeting minutes. I would like it in the meeting minutes.
Oh, okay, I get that, Olga. I'm just saying, we're not supposed to be talking about it as a topic right now.
Right, right. But we're reviewing the meeting minutes.
Yeah,
That's what
okay,
I'm
yeah,
doing.
got it, fine, fine.
So if we're voting on them and people want to ignore what I said, vote against me. But I would like that in the meeting minutes.
What would you like in the meeting minutes?
That I had requested, as far as distribution of materials, that the materials be put in a PDF format, just like the select board meetings, and it be posted with our agenda when it's put on the calendar. It's so simple, and then wouldn't have to have special.
Can
Well,
we, look, I'm running out of time for one thing. I've really got to stop. I've got a very early flight tomorrow
Yeah.
morning. And can we make the correction in the minutes? And I would suggest if we want to have a discussion at another meeting about what Olga is proposing, I'm fine with putting that on the agenda, Jerry, and we could talk about it. But the substance of it, I don't think is right to get into.
If you're gonna add something of that nature, then you need to put that in writing, send it into Karen. We won't vote on this tonight. And then
Right.
we'll bring it up at the next meeting. That's
Yeah.
the only way we can handle that.
Right?
Yep,
And
Okay.
I'm in agreement with having it on the agenda.
okay. Yeah, well, right now, we're just talking about at the minutes. So if you've got a change, put it in writing, send it over to Karen. She'll look at it. Check the notes
Mhm.
from the meeting, and then we'll bring it up at the next meeting. Okay?
Okay,
All right, anything else?
well, that's February 16th.
Oh, we're not voting on the minutes. Right. Oh, that was February 16th. Are we voting also on March 2nd?
Or just wait.
No, you can vote on March 2nd. Any changes and deletions on March 2nd?
Again,
That
I'd like the documents listed with the meeting minutes as is required.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I'll ask Karen why the documents are not on it. And because I remember, I think they are usually.
Mhm.
If the gist of the meeting of minutes of March 2nd are good, someone wants to make a motion, fine. She can add it to it, or you can hold off on both. It's up to the members. I don't
I'd
mind.
say just hold off because we're going to hold off on the other one. It won't be a big deal to do it the next time.
That's fine. I have no problem. So I'll move both minutes to the May 4th meeting. Okay? Good. Anything else?
Have a good trip, David.
Haven't seen
Thank
none.
you.
Good trip.
Thank
Both
you.
of
Hey,
you,
wear your mask.
I'm going to wear 7 of them just for you, David.
Oh, and the bottom was a Trump one, right?
No, it goes,
right,
that goes
Tony.
on the top. With the
Tony,
big
have a
X
good day.
across it. Anyway, bye,
Tony, have a good
everybody.
Vacation, and David, I hope all things go well.
Yeah,
Bye,
thanks. Bye.
everybody.